Appreciate you asking me, Casey. I think we're second cousins. I don't know. I might be wrong on that. My name is Chris. I'm an alcoholic. Got a sobriety date August 5th, 2017, and that was the day I really gave up. I do not have a home group at this time. My home group actually, because of COVID, they stopped meeting, which I'm really sad about. But like Casey said, I come here a lot. I chair meetings. Actually started a group. I didn't start it, but I started chairing out there on Roseland Road at the United Methodist Church. And it's from the first time I started chairing, it's like nobody else even offered to chair anymore. So I've pretty much been chairing almost the whole time. I've had a couple people help me out when I couldn't get to it. Because I did get COVID. It didn't affect me, but I did get COVID and had to quarantine. But so I'm supposed to tell you what it was like and what it was like and what it is, how it is now. It was definitely a change in my life. You know, was when I found out there was a solution. You know, as I know a lot of people. There's some people in here that say I wasn't alcoholic when I was young. You know, I wasn't alcoholic until I reached I took the alcoholic drink. You know, I felt like I've been an alcoholic all my life, straight out the womb. I always had alcoholic behaviors. You know, I come from an alcoholic family or alcoholic and active addiction family. And I will say a few things about drugs in my story. I hope I don't offend anybody. But, you know, growing up, I'll say probably a middle-class family. I had an older sister and my mother. My parents got a divorce when I was 2 years old, so I didn't really know my father. And I did find out after I got sober, I had huge resentments against that man, and I had to let that go, of course. Never realized I had him for most of my life. But so my mom's pretty much raising me by herself for a little while. My sister and I. Then she did meet Casey's dad's first cousin, and that's my stepdad. You know, he potty trained me, taught me how to stand up and pee, everything. You know, taught me some good morals. You know, some things that I know has helped me today. You know, but like I was saying, you know, my parents were in active addiction the whole time, so I grew up around it. You know, so I didn't see anything wrong with it. You know, never did I think that drugs and alcohol was a bad thing. You know, I mean, I know when we were in I think the 6th grade, they taught us DARE. Y'all remember DARE? I had a couple DARE shirts and everything, but it's like the 7th grade hit. I think I burnt them shirts. Never had anything else to do with them. Never even thought twice about them. You know, growing up, I moved around a little bit. I was born in Fayetteville. I moved here. Mom said, I'm going to try to get my kids out of this bad neighborhood here and try to move to a smaller town and, try to keep us out of trouble. But, it doesn't matter where you are. As long as you bring you'll find trouble if you want to find it. So I went to Southern Pines. I went to Aberdeen. And then I finally landed in Bass, big old town of Bass. That's pretty much where I grew up at from like the third grade on. The school I was going to was a K through 8, just to let y'all know how big it was. So wasn't a lot of moving after I hit Bass, because we bought some land and everything out there. I loved sports at a young age. I loved and anything that I liked doing, I wanted to do a lot of it. And I've always had the addiction of more in my life. Then as I get a little older, I'm in school, getting in trouble all the time. I was kind of ironic. I was good at home, but I go to school and I'd misbehave like no other. I'm getting sent to the principal's office almost every day. Fights, cussing, just rebelling. Definitely had some issues from the jump start. So getting older, get into sports. I played a lot of different sports. Then I finally get to high school, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. I had older sister, like I said earlier. My sister was 3 years older than I am, so that kind of helped me with not being as a loner. I knew a lot of older people, especially freshman day. Anybody know what freshman day is? Well, at Union Pines back in the day, they used to drag freshmen on Friday 13th. And man, I got saved 3 or 4 times by the older friends of my sisters and people I used to party with at a young age. I want to say the first thing that I did experience was I smoked weed, and this is long before I drank anything. I used to be afraid of alcohol because I knew I felt like it was easier to get alcohol because you can go in any store and get alcohol. So I felt like that I was more likely to become an alcoholic than a drug addict, So that kind of twisted later in life. But and I should have known from the very beginning. Me and some friends, we'd get a bag of weed and we'd smoke it from the beginning to the end. Before we even finish the joint, we're rolling up another one. It's just definitely smoked alcoholically. It was a chain, and that was my early experience. I used to sell. I started selling drugs a little bit. My pops had it, and I'd sell some for him. Got smoked with my parents. I remember the first time my pops found my bong I had hidden in the room. I didn't think he knew anything about me smoking at all. And he worked in construction, and it was a rain day. I had a corner desk in my room, and I had my bong hidden by the corner desk, some stuff in front of it. And he went back to the drawer. He liked to draw a lot. And as soon as he sat down, it kicked the thing that was covering it up, and it fell down. And so I get home from school that day. When you get home from school, you go to your bedroom, drop your book bag, and go get something to snack on, instantly. And my pops is sitting on the couch. The couch is facing the other direction, and I'm behind him, and he's acting like he can't get a hit off his bowl. And he's like, man, this thing sucks. He said, Chris, why don't you grab that bong? He's not looking at me at all. He said, why don't you grab that bong back there, man, so we can try it out. I'm standing behind him. My mouth probably drops to the floor. And I'm like, did he just say what I think he did? And he's all right with it. You know, his motto was, I'd rather you smoke at the house than out there in the public and getting caught. So that worked out for a little while, not long, And I remember back then they even threw a party for me, or allowed me to throw a party, bought me some alcohol, drank. I think the first alcohol I drank was Wild Turkey, and I stole it from my parents. They had a little bit of a handle left, and I rode my bicycle all the way to Lakeview from Bass, and I had it in my book bag, and I couldn't make it home that night. I had to call and say I'm staying the night over here. And it was like probably one of the last times I ever drank warm liquor. I got super sick off of it because as soon as the first drink, I couldn't stand it, but I could feel it going down, and I knew something was going to happen. Didn't know what, but I knew something good was going to happen in my life. Just from that first drink, and we continued to drink. I think they pretty much drank a few shots and they were about done, and I wasn't done. I kept on going until I got sick, and I think I passed out and then woke up right before dark, and first day drunk ever at a young age. And I was still playing sports at the time, and I did real well in wrestling in high school. Even I went to NC State wrestling camp, and I learned a lot of good stuff. And I didn't have no problems making weight. I was always tall and lanky. Or I was taller and lankier than everybody I ever wrestled in my weight class. Everybody was always short and stocky. It gave me a little bit of advantage. I learned at that wrestling camp to use that to my advantage, and I did. But it just, that was the summer of after my freshman year. And so I get into sophomore year. I'm still gung ho. I'm still smoking weed, and like drinking every now and then on the weekends. Didn't think I had any kind of problem, Not realizing, weed's illegal. Not supposed to be doing it, period. What's wrong with that, But the only thing I was thinking, I tried to justify it, is I'm not smoking rock or shooting up heroin, so I guess I'm not a junkie. So sophomore year, I think I played soccer that year. First year they had a soccer team, and I went back to wrestling, and did good in wrestling. I even went to states, and the guy that beat me ended up winning, and he said after the match, he said, man, you're the first guy I wrestled in 3 years that I have not pinned. He beat me by 2 points on a reversal. Man, that was the hardest wrestling match of my life, man. My mouth was so dry. Felt like I smoked 10 blunts. It was horrible. I was about to die over there, and I'm like, I don't know how he didn't beat me. It's like I wasn't giving up. I was just not realizing I was a sophomore, he was a senior. The guy's been doing it since he was like 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. And just sophomore year, that summer, that summer I get a job working on a golf course, and that was my first paying job or on the books. My pops taught me at a young age that a man that works with his hands will never be broke, and that was a good moral that I instilled in me. That was one of the three things he taught me. And so I'm working on the golf course that summer, and I'm loving it. Everybody out there smokes weed. Parties at night. Well, I couldn't really go to their house afterwards and party. I'm 16 years old. Mom still trying to keep tabs on me, the best that she could. But she did a great job, man, raising me. I told her one day, I said, the only regret I had, is I wish she would have whooped my ass a little bit more when I was younger. I made her cry when I said that, but she did in my opinion, she did a great job raising me, the best she could. Love her to death. She's still alive today. So that summer, I started experimenting more and more with alcohol. Drinking more often than not. But I smoke weed constantly all day long, pretty much. Meeting with other guys throughout on the golf course, taking breaks. That was definitely a stoner job, Then it got to a point, summer was about to end, and but before summer ended, I was going to party. My sister and brother-in-law used to throw parties a lot, cake parties and stuff like that. And my brother-in-law was, I don't know, probably 150 pounds more than I was, and about 6 inches taller. And I used to try to do cake stands to keep up with him. Oh man, couldn't tell me nothing, I mean, one of the parties I got so smashed at it, and there's a guy that had some tequila too, and he's like taking little shots of it, some good tequila. I'm like, man, what is that? I grabbed a bottle out of his hand, turned it up, took a couple, 3 or 4 swigs out of it, brought it down. That was the second time I drank warm liquor. And I mean, and I should have learned from the first time that if it don't come out the freezer, I'm not drinking it no more. It definitely rude awakening. I was throwing up all over. All in the bathroom. Passed out back there. My sister's pregnant, and with first kid. And I'm sloppy drunk at the party, and she's having to babysit me, and it's like she opens up the window to get some air in there for me, and one of her old friends, one of the guys that saved me on freshman day, starts calling my name. It's like, Chris, what are you doing? He grabs my leg and tries to pull me out through the window to come out there and continue the party and everything. I couldn't do it. He about had me out there. My sister came in and caught him. Leave him alone. I think I threw up 3 or 4 more times. I mean badly, And then I was out. I don't really remember much more that day or that evening. Woke up, the place was a wreck. Outside was a wreck. So I know it's some fun times for some people. But summer starts to end. You got to go back to school. But there was some people. That guy that tried to pull me out the window was one of the main guys, that told me, your junior year is your best year in high school. He said, senior year is great, man, but you're graduating and all that, but you got all these tests, fines, all these rules. You gotta. I mean, it's just so much pressure. He said, you better enjoy your junior year. I wish I'd have never heard that. The first semester of my junior year, I think I made it to spring break, and I missed. I had already missed like 11 days or something like that, and the most you can miss was 8 days to pass. And one of my classes, I was skipping school to go get high, go smoke weed. Didn't have a car, but I had a license, and I knew people that had cars. I was one of the reasons why they put the chain on the parking lots, back then, because I used to skip school, used to drive, and then I'd come back and pick that person up. They'd let me borrow the car, and they'd take me home or whatnot. But it was just that's where I started going down the wrong path. It's like didn't know my priorities at all. Didn't care. I mean, I never really liked school. I quit doing homework in the 6th grade, but I passed every year. 7th, 8th grade, I got AB honor roll. If I couldn't get the work done in school, I wasn't doing it. I passed with schoolwork and the homework that I did while I was at school, and tests until my junior year, and then ended up having to go to this alternative school is what they called it back then. I don't know what they call it now. But it was right beside Pizza Hut in Carthage, and there's a restaurant there now. But the assistant principal took me down there, introduced me to the principal there, and I had the option to do. You had to go for at least 3 hours, and I had the option to go to night classes from 4 to 7. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do right there, And so I went back, talked to my superintendent at the golf course, and he let me come back because, I was a good worker. And probably cheap labor too back then. But it didn't matter. I ain't had no bills, I mean, all I was pretty much spending it on was shoes and cigarettes and weed, alcohol, that's all pretty much everywhere all my money went to. But so I was working during the day, getting off at like 3 and going to school from 4 to 7 at night. And the alternative school back then, you didn't really have a teacher. They gave you a workbook, right? And all you do is read and answer all the questions. You get done with that workbook, you got a credit. I ended up with 5 credits that semester. That helped me out. That was going to help me out the next semester. Because I can go back to Union Pines the next semester. I'm like, all right, I don't have to go for 3 classes now next semester. I'm good. That might regulate my skipping. I think I made it 3 weeks in the second semester and missed, out of those 15 days, one of my classes, I missed 13 of them. And didn't have but 3. Oh, I think I still have 4. They made me do 4 classes. They wouldn't allow me to do the 3 classes unless I was a senior. And I probably built a resentment about that. I'm like, I worked so hard over there. I mean, it was so simple. I ended up getting expelled for excessive skipping my junior year. and started screwing up from there, you know. I quit my job before that next semester because my superintendent left and everybody was getting piss tests. And I was a mandatory piss test. And I was on my last name starts with a T, so I had to take a piss test on the third day. And that's when I didn't go into work. I knew I couldn't pass a piss test. What's the sense in them and doing it, you know? So I quit the job, and you know but I still had the habits, you know. So I ended up doing some thieving, you know, some breaking and entering, and caught a bunch of charges at a young age, 17 years old. You know, and they continued all the way until I was 18. So I got tried as an adult. You know, they tried to give me 90 days DART, 90 days impact, 6 months probation. 5 years probation. I'm like, man, probation. I wasn't even thinking about the DART and impact, you know. And I get back, before I left, my lawyer said my suspended sentence is 6 to 8 months. Well, I signed a plea bargain, which was the dumbest thing I ever did back then, and I got convicted of four felonies, and I get this crazy idea. I'm like, man, 90 days DART, 90 days impact. That's 6 months there. I can just go to prison and get out of pre-man. That's what I'm gonna do. Went back in front of the same judge that gave me the sentence. He's like, you didn't like my, and he asked me if I needed a lawyer. I said, no, I'm just activating my sentence. He said, you sure? I said, yeah, I'm good. He said, you didn't like my plea bargain, son? I said, no, sir. He said, I said, my lawyer told me my suspended sentence was 6 to 8 months. He said, it sure is, Mr. Torres. He said, 6 to 8 months for this charge, 6 to 8 months for this charge, all 4 charges. You know, he said, boxcar. I said, what? He said, you got any questions? I said, that's 2 to 3 years. He said, I'm glad you can add. Get out of my courtroom. You know, 18 years old, I'm about to go to prison for 2 to 3 years. You know, that was definitely an experience right there. I got in more fights those 2 years. I was there 2.5 years. Got in more fights those 2.5 years than I did the first 18 years of my life. And I went to the principal's office a lot for fighting. Ended up, you know, in prison, you know, back then, that was mandatory to go to a treatment facility. And I went to one it was like 30 days, you know, in prison system. You know, I followed all the directions, you know, and it was similar. I mean, I swear I don't remember the 12 steps, though. You know, it was similar to everything else we did in treatment. But it's ended up, I mean, I told him straight up, I said, I ain't seen anything wrong with smoking a joint. A man that worked all day and coming home smoking a joint, drinking a beer. But that was a lie, you know. I couldn't just do that, smoke one joint or drink one beer. Didn't know that back then. So prison didn't do nothing for me, didn't reform me, you know, it just taught me how to be a better criminal or a worse criminal. So I get out, you know, doing the same thing. Started selling drugs, and next thing you know, I get hit with some indictments, you know, 6 years later, and they put me on probation again. You know, I was having to take a urinalysis every week. I was buying cleaner to try to beat the urinalysis. You know, then I failed 8 piss tests, and it's like that. I ended up having to activate my sentence, so I went back to prison. this time at adult spread. And that was definitely different. You know, seen some crazy stuff. You know, I made it through it though. You know, I'm alive today. Get out, right back to the same old thing. You know, not realizing I had a problem, and convinced my mom into selling everything. We moved to Florida. You know, we're gonna move to Florida, start over. You know, and didn't realize that. So we packed everything in the U-Haul that we wanted to keep. We didn't sell, and we got $2 in there. We're going to Florida. You know, I took that one thing with me that that helped me stay in trouble, and that was me. You know, I didn't leave him in North Carolina. You know, I was going to change my life. You know, change my playground and everything. Didn't work out that way. Ended up started drinking a lot. You know, rum on the beach. It was I loved it a lot. I goes really, really well. Turned into, I guess you call it a pirate. You know, lived on an island down there in Florida. Partied a lot, man. Even got arrested for having an open house party. Never even heard of that charge before. But I got arrested and then when they came to arrest me, you know, of course I had some weed in my pocket. You know, a pretty good amount. And that was another charge. You know, if y'all haven't noticed, you know, I went to jail a lot. You know, I didn't even tell you a third of how many times I went to jail. You know, and still got out doing the same thing. That's that insanity right there that they talk about. You know, and you know, for a long time I used to say, yeah, I'm a drug addict. I tell people, I'm a drug addict and alcoholic. You know, I never knew what that really meant. I just thought that meant I did drugs and I drank. That's what I thought it meant. That's it. You know, and one of the last times I was in jail in Florida, there was a guy that got out, older guy, you know, probably in his 60s. You know, got out. I'm still waiting to go to court. And he comes, and not even a week later, he's back in jail. And it was like an aha moment. You know, some people call it a God moment. You know, I call it a duh. You know, if I don't change, I'm gonna end up like that guy right there. That's gonna be my life for the rest of my life, in and out of jail. I had a good friend of mine that lived up here. Been known him for 20 years or so. You know, we partied together. You know, did a lot of bad stuff together, a lot of good stuff together. You know, I had a lot of great times partying, you know, but it always ended up in trouble. And this guy, he tried to plant the seed, you know, years before, but, you know, I wasn't ready. You know, I came up with every excuse in the book, you know. My mom, taking care of my mom down here, you know, she's not working, you know, what's she gonna do? She's a grown-ass woman, she can take care of herself, that's what he said. Nah, she can't take care of herself. What do you know? I'm not gonna turn my back on my mom. She's doing just fine down there, y'all, you know. And came back. When I came back, I had to turn myself in. And that was for some charges they never hit me with before I moved away. Some more indictments, and so that landed me on probation. You know, and this is like first time I ever made it unsupervised probation. Never even knew what that was really, kind of, you know. And after my time ran up, I even called my probation officer. I'm my old probation officer. I'm like, so do I need to go back to court, you know, to get off of this probation? He said, Chris, you've been off for years. I'm like, what? You know, I could piss in the cup and it was clean. That was an amazing thing right there. Didn't have to, you know, try to manipulate the system. You know, today I got a life, you know, that I got peace. I don't have to, when I ride by the cops, I don't have to turn around and look. You know, I don't have to look over my shoulder because I'm about to do something wrong and worry if I'm about to get caught again. You know, if it wasn't for those 12 steps right there, there's no way that was going to happen. Because I tried to do just religion, you know, and a lot of people call that jailhouse religion. You know, while you're locked up, you find God, you're like, yeah, this is where it is. I'm never going to do anything bad again. A couple hours after you get out, right back at it, you know. You got to remove yourself from the bad situations. You gotta do that moral inventory. And that moral inventory, you know, I did that. My fourth step, man. I was about in tears, you know, thinking about all the harm done to others as I'm writing this stuff down. Stuff I long forgot. You know, just coming back, putting it down on paper, and like, man, I mean, I had a pretty thick fifth step. You know, we were there for several hours, and I was grateful I was able to do a thorough fifth step. You know, when I went to treatment, I had some jail time right before, so I was able to clear my head up, and I went to treatment, you know, like a sponge, you know, absorbing everything. I was done. I wasn't. If there's a way out of that life that I had, I'm a do everything I can to learn how to do it. You know, and that's what God in the 12 steps has helped me do. You know, continue to, you know, I seek God on a daily basis today because I know I'm not God anymore. You know I don't have to watch my back anymore. God has me. I know anytime I think about drinking, I stop, say the 3-second prayer. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I said that in early sobriety. You know, God, please remove this thought before it becomes an obsession. I'll repeat it over and over. You know, and now today, you know, I can joke about things to a point. You know, more than what some people can. But I'm grateful today that I'm not a slave to alcohol or drugs. You know, because that's exactly what it was. You know, I thought I was just having a good time partying, you know, a little bit. And it wasn't a little bit, it was a lot of it. You know, every chance I got. You know, I was able to always get a job, but I wasn't always able to keep a job. You know, didn't have any problems getting one. It was, you know, I think the longest I was ever out of job was like 3 years back in the day. And that was because I needed that money, you know, to get what I wanted. And not to mention that boss man bailed me out of jail so many times until he was done. Till that last time. You know, today I'm employable, you know, and I enjoy my work. I'm not doing the same thing I used to do. I grew up doing. I cooked most of my life, and now I'm just doing landscaping. It was pretty much like my first job, you know, and never realized that anybody would ever ask me, you know, if I want to be a partner. But today I'm a partner, you know, in a company that's been going strong for 20 years, and grateful, you know, grateful to be around other alcoholics, other people I can call my friends, my brothers, my sisters, you know. Y'all help me stay sober day in and day out, you know. Being able to, you know, chair meetings, you know, helps keep me accountable You know, that's one of the main reasons why I chair the meetings as much as I can, is because I don't have a home group, you know, and it allows me to do service work, you know, for others, give back, be responsible, you know, there's so many times where my disease, you know, I got that built-in forgetter, my disease will tell me, you know, I don't need a meeting tonight, but if I got to chair it, I'm going to be there, you know, because I know if I got a responsibility, I'm going to do it. If I tell you I'm going to do something, it's going to get done. That's just the way I've kind of been all my life, you know, but addiction kind of got in the way. And now today, I'm able to be a man of my word no matter what. Thanks to God and those 12 steps, you know, definitely grateful to be one of the ones that got it, you know. This program is, you know, can be touch and go for some people. I took it, held on to it, grabbed onto it for dear life, you know, because I wanted to no more consequences. You know, I got away from the consequences. Now, this is probably the longest I've ever been in my life without getting arrested. You know, I'm so grateful. You know, I'll end with this. You know, this program is not for people. There's so many people out there that need this program and want it, but the only ones that get it are the ones that do it. If I could do it for you, I would, but I can't. Just keep that in mind. Y'all think for the shit?